Welcome to Wednesdays with Willa. I am your host, Willa White, and this is my weekly podcast show that airs on Wednesday mornings at 10 a.m. Eastern on my Facebook page, Willa White Medium. It's an opportunity for us to have a spiritual conversation relating to either spiritualism, mediumship, healing, family, faith, or more. And each week I try to have a special guest on the show, and today I have with me my wonderful father, Bill White. Thanks for being on the show again, Dad.
Thanks for having me, Willa.
I've been blessed to have wonderful parents, Bill and Bonnie White, and those of you who've watched the show for many years know that they have been very instrumental in my spiritual journey. My mother, Bonnie White, is a registered Lily Dale medium, and my father, Bill White, has studied extensively in healing and mediumship, and also in the understanding of spiritual development, spiritual unfoldment. And I encourage you to look back at the archive videos of Wednesdays with Willa. The best place to view them would be on my YouTube channel. There are several years, this is year 9 of Wednesdays with Willa. So all you need to do is go to Willa White and then type in Bill White, and you will have all the great episodes that I've had with my dad on the show. And he's well versed, as you're about to hear. And I want to have a few announcements that I'd like to share with all of you. January is a big month starting some mediumship classes. I teach beginner, intermediate, and advanced level students. And on January 17th, I will be teaching an intro to mediumship for beginners class. It's a 3-hour workshop on a Saturday, and it's a perfect opportunity for you to get started in your journey and understand various facets of the clairs, but also how to apply them effectively. Then I have my Living the Laws of Spirit. It's a 6-week course that you can be part of. It's available for mediums and healers and everybody who's a spiritual seeker who wants to know how to take spiritual natural law and actually apply it in their lives, in their spiritual journey. So very excited about those Zoom classes, as well as my Monday Night Circle, which will be starting up at the end of January. That's a beautiful group of very special students that I've been working with, and we always welcome beginners, intermediate, and advanced students to that circle. We have a lesson in the beginning, and then I give you opportunity to practice in breakout sessions in Zoom, and we also sometimes do extra credit practice circles. So lots of things to look forward to. You can look at my website, willawhite.com, for more information about those. But without further ado, we're going to be talking about today's topic, which is, I want to make sure I say this right, achieving the harmonious outcome. So achieving the harmonious outcome. And I know that that's something that you've really been studying over the years and restudying more recently.
Well, yes, partly I think directed by a life interest in and practice of the music, playing music, which is one of the arts that emphasizes harmony and promotes harmony. Mm-hmm. So music has always been a great healing factor in a person's life, and it's ancient.
Yes.
That's ancient, but it's something that is no small matter in a person's life. And in fact, it can be a huge, huge thing, and it can develop your interest in and practice of harmony in your own life.
And a big part of the reason that works so well is the law of vibration. So that which you're in harmony with, that which you resonate with, the law of resonance is one of the reasons that the law of attraction works.
Right.
And, my father has been a lifelong musician, still very active and practicing and playing with groups. And it's a deep love that he has of music, and he shared with our families through the years. But it does translate very well into the understanding of the spiritual.
Oh, yes.
And attuning oneself, aligning oneself harmoniously with life. And so many people, they're striving for something. They have a goal in mind, or they're wanting to achieve this in a certain amount of time in a certain way. What would you say to them?
To them,
Anyone who's wanting to, who's striving for a particular goal.
oh yes, well, always the keystone for everything is the seeking of harmony with spirit, and the great spirit, which is God, at fundamental to all realization, self-realization, all harmony, all health, all wonderful outcome. The secret to a charmed life is seeking God and harmonizing with the Spirit of God.
Mm-hmm.
It is that powerful, but also that simple. But it's not a simple thing necessarily to do.
So that has to always be the first step, that you're linking with the divine, that you, as a spark of the divine, have unlimited potential for love and peace and joy. And aligning with that, no matter what you might be trying to force as a vision, the first step is to be in alignment with what God has envisioned for you.
Well, that God is in you, the spark of God is in you.
Mm-hmm.
You are not God. God is the creator. You did not create yourself. We did not create ourselves. We are created by God. God is the great spirit who created us. But he created us with the spark of himself. His own spiritual consciousness is embedded in our life force. In fact, it is the totality of our life force. Even our manifestation as physical beings
Mm-hmm.
is from spirit. And you could say, in a sense, there is a dichotomy here that many people have explored.
Mm-hmm.
And that's because so many have explored it in so many different ways. There are conflicting views of this. The flesh, the spirit, the physical, the spiritual. People think those are in conflict. They are not in conflict with God. God is the spirit. Everything is spirit. Everything that we think we see, we think we touch, is really a manifestation of spirit. It is not solid. When people become enamored of the solid, of the world of flesh, we call him the flesh man. The flesh man. He lives a life in accord with the flesh. He follows a false god.
He's only in that material world concept.
He is a materialist. He is a flesh man, and he will be heir to all of the falsity of the flesh man, all the falsity of the physical world.
Mm-hmm.
It's a problem because it's a fall from grace, because grace is a spiritual thing. And if one descends into the world of matter and is totally oriented toward that, people have names for this. It is, in the end, uninterrupted or unsaved, unredeemed from that. It is a falling into a failed life and a disaster, total disaster. And we have seen many people whose lives degenerate into a disaster. or they lurch in their own lives from one disaster or one crisis to another. And there is another way to live life, and that is through a harmonious balance. That's what one must seek if one wants to live a charmed life. A charmed life is one that is lived in accordance with truth and spirit, God. So, in a sense, that sounds that simple, but the process is not simple. So many have been trying through the centuries to do this, and we have the great traditions. We've been studying a lot about various swamis from India who have lived a whole lifetime of seeking this harmonious balance, seeking the truth of the spiritual life, and practicing their forms of yoga. And they're all good. They're all succeed insofar as they do succeed in that. Yet, we also see from the patterns of many of their lives that the inconsistencies and the failures. We see some of them being seduced by riches and materialism and fame. They come to America and they're swamis and they're celebrated, and the Maharishi that the Beatles followed. They followed him, and they followed him back to India. They were pretty disillusioned by the time they left. They left under some very, the Beatles, when they left India after their big experience with the Maharishi, they left under some great disillusionments, if you've looked into it. And other people have, we knew someone who worked for the Dalai Lama. He worked for the Dalai Lama, got very disillusioned in many ways. Just simple things, like, for example, the Dalai Lama is a very spiritual person, right? But those who were working for him, and they said, well, we do not drink the waters that you buy out on the street. They're poisoned, they're contaminated. But they would not tell certain of the other people about this. And she was from the United States. She was working for them. We were working for them. She realized, wait a minute, there's a two-tier sense of love here, a two-tier sense of responsibility. And this is, she felt, was disillusioned. Right. Well, this is disillusioning. This is a failure of goodwill. This is a failure to love your fellow man. This is a failure to really do what is right. So all of these pathways, and there are many, and they do all lead to God eventually, because God is the only truth. But, one will say, well, how long, oh Lord, how long does it take? Well, it takes how long it does take. Many lifetimes, perhaps. But you say, well, wait a minute. Do I just want to keep repeating the same mistakes over and over? How long does it take to get it to find out that what I'm doing is not succeeding, that it is producing failure? Not only myself, but I'm a curse to those around me. Voila. So, so the challenge to live a life of grace is the challenge to seek always the grace of God. That is the secret, basically, of harmonious life. And we've been. How does all this all relates to the fact that we are at Lilydale? We're interested so much in healing. Healing has been so much a part of what created Lilydale. So much of Jeremiah Carter's quest as a member of the freethinkers in Leona. He himself was healed. And he was healed because of the spiritual connection that was made with a doctor in Sinclairville who has passed beyond and made the prescription in trance for healing Jeremiah Carter, who had a wasting disease. Wasting diseases, we assume, in his time, in the 19th century, were consumption, basically what we call TB.
Right.
And he went on to live a long life. I think you were looking for his grave recently.
Yes, yeah, Ron Nega and I did that, and he's a very interesting man. He was labeled the Venerable Dr. Jeremiah Carter in the end there. But, into this understanding of achieving a harmonious outcome, do you feel that it's not necessarily an active striving in the physical sense that people might want to have? It has more to do with, first, alignment with God, the Creator, so that you can positively co-create.
Well, it is alignment, yes, and the achievement between the affections and the mind, the body, and the thought and the emotions. When they're in conflict, disease results.
So here's what is happening. Many people are looking at the external world and seeing the lack of harmony between themselves or between other people, and they're concerned about the conflict and the war constructions that they may have in the macrocosm and microcosms of their life. Mm-hmm. And so let's delve a little bit more into achieving that harmonious outcome in those arenas.
Well, one of the main arenas. I mean, any time there is a lack of harmony, you have a situation where disease will be produced. And when you have a situation where disease is produced, you have a degeneration of your relationship with the material world. It's not harmonious.
So how do we go harmonious? We don't want to be labeled flesh-men, like you said. But how do we be harmonious then between the material and the spiritual?
Well, we've been paying attention to H.B. Jeffries on the coordination of spirit, soul, and body. This is what produces the harmony. And H.B. was from Syracuse, New York. And he died in 1954 at the age of 82. As a young man, he followed the building trades. He became an architect and he made buildings. He was and from Syracuse. He was a builder. He built homes and buildings. And then he met some healers. And he began to be interested in what was then the New Thought wave revolution. It was going on in America and in England. And he began to leave the trades or the architectural world, and he worked with healers. And he studied also the religions. He studied Hinduism, and he studied Buddhism, and he studied at Harvard. And he acquired quite a little bit of more than a passing acquaintance with these systems of thought. And he himself became a renowned healer in his day, working both in England, on the continent, as well as in America. But he has a lot to say about what causes variation from the path, what causes a life to be troubled by disease and inharmony. And I'll read you a passage that will just show you. Let's see here. I think I marked this. I have to put on my glasses. You know, I'm 85 now, and I have to have some help with this. When a person's outer vision, let me get it. All there is in regard to people is the quality of their love and their intelligence. And in your realization of this, you can inwardly feel, touch, taste, smell, and know, without a word, the vibrations of their consciousness. When a person's outer vision corresponds with the inner, he lives a charmed life. And the outer corresponds with the inner, but the first is the inner. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Because the goodness that is within is finding expression without. The goodness is a protection. He who is alive in the inside knows that his life is not self-derived. He knows that the life sap is not generated by persons. By acknowledging this, you turn on to the true current. You live by the one vitality. This is so potent. You know, I'm on this pathway of health, and I'm healthier now than I've ever been. And I have been through some challenges in my life, some that I could talk about. But I went in childhood. I went through all the diseases that kids go through. The pneumonia, mumps, measles, and I had stomach problems and digestions, and I just up and down. And even in my late 50s, I had, late 50s, I had digestive issues. None now, zero. And it's because I began to really learn about this harmony and of inner life. And that's a practice. And that practice comes through seeking the grace of God, being grateful for it because it's manifest. The grace of God is really everywhere in almost everything. Even things that seem negative can be seen as the grace of God because it's trying to right you back on the path, right you back. Even you could say sometimes your diseases or your challenges, they're just indicators. Get back on the path. Get back on the path. And if you acknowledge that that's what it is, that it's a signal that you need to be back on the path, and open yourself to that, you will receive the teaching that you need. You will receive it directly. This is what's so wonderful about mediumship. And mediumship, for people who are seeking first God, seek ye first God, and all these things will be added unto you. That's fundamental. And we have mediums who are not even among us that we know. They get sidetracked. They think it's I'm just developing some talents, some abilities, and some thises and that's, and they don't realize that first is God. then that creates the vibration, the stream through which the pure thought and the pure action occurs. And when you're in that kind of a presence, you know the difference. You know it in your own life, and the people around you know it. They recognize it. And I'm fortunate enough to be married to a very spiritual woman, your mother. When we were together, I'll just give you an little incident. We were getting phones. We were changing phones, phone companies. And it was taking a long time, and there were customers waiting. There were about 3 or 4 or 5. They're all waiting. And he's taking all his time, and you know why? He is enjoying every minute. And I was, what is going on? Why is he enjoying this so much? And it's because I could feel it. I could feel the presence emanating from Bonnie, and there's the presence emanating. He just was basking in that. He was basking, just like we do with the sunshine. Mm-hmm. Just like we do with the fresh air. And that's what people feel in the presence of a spiritual person, like a Swami who is developed. And the people, they call it the darshan, they call it coming into his presence. And that when they come into that vibration, everything changes for them, because they're in the presence of someone who is in harmony with spirit.
So they up-level or up-regulate.
Exactly. It just happens. So it's like, and I've all of these things are going on because one of the things that you wonder about, creation, destruction. Mm-hmm. Oh, you say, that's not harmonious. Destruction is
right. You're
chaos.
Looking at people with their chaos. You think, wow, is that?
Here's this flood.
Harmonious?
Here's this war.
Oh, no.
Here's this chaos, destruction. Here's this outbreak of bad temper, of people who all of this stuff going on. There's things that watch your daily newscast. You know what I'm talking about. The disruptions of life. Mm-hmm. And then you encounter, say, Shiva, the great god of Hinduism, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, there's a destructive quality. Well, what is going on? Why would people worship a god that has a god of destruction? Well, they don't understand. Shiva is simply taking away, removing all that is not God. Yes, the destruction is burning away everything that is not God.
What if they're good people, though?
There could be good people, but they're benefiting by having removed from them all the not God. So it's like what they call the alchemist. Yes.
I understand that, but then there's the other concept of, even if bad things are happening to you, it's how you react to it that dictates the event. So I don't think that people need to think of themselves as just being separated like the wheat from the chaff, and they're bad, and that's why something has happened.
When you are aware, when you are in a situation where things are being destroyed in front of you, even within you, like through disease, which is a form of destruction of your body parts, your body organs, something's being destroyed. Mm-hmm. When you're out of sync like that, all right, you have to say, okay, through this I am being healed. When you begin to acknowledge what's going on, when you begin to acknowledge, it's the power of acknowledgement. When you acknowledge what's going on, and then I remember you had Tom Cressley on recently, and he said this before, and he's such a healer, and he said, I'm not doing the healing. I am acknowledging the healing that's going on. I am watching. I am the watcher.
The witness.
the witness of this. When you become the witness of that in yourself and you start to see, this is what's happening, and you allow that to run its course, it goes whoop, and things happen in the twinkling of an eye. In the twinkling of an eye, depending on how quickly you realize it. But it's letting go and letting God. Letting go and seeing God as the alkahest involved here, this process of burning away, destroying everything in this situation, in your body, in the relationship, in the whatever is going on that is not God. Allow that to happen. I've been trying to say, oh yes, what was going on? What was the great deluge all about? You know, with Noah and all of that, and I think, oh my, all those people, and oh my, all those cities, and oh, and there's Gaza, and then there's the children, and all of this destruction. This is the kind of thing that just wrecks people, and they can't say what, and they get so nervous and they can't reconcile that with the experience of God. They have to recognize what's going on, and they start from within themselves. Go within yourself. Let God be God inside you. See the alkahest working, burning away everything inside you that isn't God. That's the Shiva element. We're thinking, oh, that's destruction. But no, that is the cleansing. Let it be cleansed. And it will happen like that, and it will be restored. I always wondered how the book of Job, it's called wisdom literature. And I studied this book of Job. I taught the book of Job when I was teaching world literature. And I'm puzzling about the book of Job, you know. And they're calling it wisdom literature, and then some are calling it it's just folk tales, you know, about this rich man, and he thought he had everything all squared away. He was giving to the widow and the orphan, and he was rich, and he was just doing everything according to the law and the rules, and then he was smitten and diseased, and all was taken away, including his children. They were destroyed, they were wrecked, and they had nothing. He was just lying in an ash heap, moaning and groaning and being ill, and, you know, on his way out. And his wife said, why don't you just roll over, curse God, and die? So it's a horrendous situation, and you say, my gosh, what's the way out of this? In other words, it doesn't get any worse.
You would hope not.
On a personal basis. So these are the things that we confront as human beings, as spiritual seekers, and we try to reconcile this kind of thing in our own lives and in the lives of those we love. All of it, literally. This is where we have to really bite the bullet and understand that all of it starts with faith in God, awakening the spirit within, allowing the alkahest to destroy all that's not God, and then that flows through you and outward, a person given to the love of God and the projecting that holiness of God is a healer.
So when
he is healing thousands, millions.
When you're in a contentious connection with someone, then what you're saying is go back to the God source, go back into the healing mode. It doesn't mean that you enable bad behavior. It means that you lovingly and firmly deal with this, and that you do this from the standpoint of the healer.
You do it from going within. So it's because within you have the spark of God. That's where you have to go, into your own
So
soul.
that your God self is speaking to their God self.
Exactly. Well, so that your God self is acknowledging that all of who you are as a creature, as a living being, is of God.
And to not get lost in the illusion or the Maya
Exactly.
of the turmoil.
Go there, stay there, and be there.
And stay in your executive functioning. That's what some people would call
Well,
us.
you could say
You
that,
know, stay-
but no, you have to. It's the first is the pure experience, and the submitting of your will to God's will. God's will is the perfect will because He's the perfect Spirit. He is your Creator.
So in this element of an actual interaction with another human being that it has not been going well, somehow you will apply these principles.
Well, okay, here it is. The Spirit of God is the Spirit of absolute wonderful love. There isn't any other love that is greater or other than the love of God. So when you're in the will of God, you experience the love of God. If your will of God is inclined toward the will of God, absorbed into the will of God, you will manifest that love. When that love manifests in any relationship, yourself to your body, yourself to your loved ones, yourself to a situation, yourself to anything, that thing will change, and it will change like that in the twinkling of an eye.
Amazing.
And that's the secret. And that's where we have to be. Seek ye first the kingdom of God, and all things will be added unto you, is it. And that is really the truth of it. Well, that's what what I'm studying, what I'm seeking. And, I'm like everyone else. We walk this walk. But we do have revelations, and that's why we're talking with each other. And we try to speak the truth. There's another, HB
about
explains
5 minutes or so.
5 minutes. You got to hear this.
Oh, before you do, can we just tell them that part of the pillars of achieving the harmonious outcome, you and I had spoken about this before, one of the pillars is prayer and meditation.
Prayer and meditation. Okay, there. I do the I am meditation because that is, I am, that's the name of God in the scriptures. I am that I am. I am that I am on the in-breath. I am that I am, hold. I am that I am on the out-breath, hold. I am that I am. I am that I am on the in-breath, hold. I am that I am on the hold. I am that I am on the out-breath, hold. I am that I am on that hold. And then on and on. It goes this way 30 times. This will achieve balance. Balance of the inner and the outer. When you achieve this balance, you achieve what's called harmony. Harmony is balance. Mm-hmm. So harmony of the inside. So this is a mantra, I am that I am, coordinated with your breathing. This is a meditation. The meditation frees your inner watcher to watch the process. The inner watcher watches what is happening as the balance is achieved. It frees you to be one with God. That cultivates your inner watcher. As you watch yourself meditating, you achieve this balance, and then anywhere you direct your attention, your vibrations, creates the potential for healing in your person that you want to heal yourself, your person, your loved one, your situation, everything. And it is a work. It's a work that you do, but you can do it, with good intention and with goodwill and assurance that it will be effective.
And that's part of the second pillar of service to others.
Oh, yes. That's the goodwill, because that's what you are doing. And, Tom talked about this. The God in me salutes the God in you. So you are speaking only to the divine self within them. When the divine self within them hears that, it is awakened, and their bodies heal like that.
And that's part of the last and third pillar, brotherhood of man, which is an old-time spiritualist term.
Yes, that's right, because we are all the wonderful, beautiful creations of God. We all have these wonderful, absolutely wondrous souls. So even the person that you thought you didn't like, the neighbor you've been having trouble with, he is a wondrous soul of God. Speak only to that. Mm-hmm. And he will change. Guaranteed, he will change if you speak only to that. But if you speak to his nasty self, you're going to get nasty self. Right. Speak to the God within, and you get grace.
Beautiful. I think that we'll finish up with the reading you wanted to share.
Okay.
Then we need to close out for today.
Okay. Sometimes, when the feelings are not in accord with the thought and its expression, there's an interruption of the life stream that manifests as disease or trouble. When all four attributes, feeling, thought, speech, and action, are in accord, the man is four square, and is in perfect balance. He is sane and healthy and strong. Without this balance, there's an acuteness or an obtuseness evident, and a lack of symmetry. Held too long, this lack of symmetry takes the form of disease. We do not want disease. This is the way of the perfect healing. And this is why we love being in Lilydale, why we love our associations with people who love God, who talk about God, and who are trying to live and are living the way of God as to the greatest of their capacity. But we're all trying to help each other. Yes. What we discover, we bring. And that's why I love your program. You're bringing those discoveries to your viewers.
Thank you, Dad.
You bet.
It was wonderful. Thank you for sharing your thoughts about achieving the harmonious outcome and the steps involved, but also the intention, because with right practice and right intention, that combination helps us to truly achieve and to have spiritual success, shall we say. All right, well, thank you for tuning in today. We really appreciate you being with us. Please like, share, subscribe, follow, all the good stuff. The more you do that, the more it will help others to find Wednesdays with Willa, and so we can keep bringing wonderful shows to you.
That's right.
Oh, thank you so much, everyone. We'll see you next week for another great show, Wednesdays with Willa. And as I said, those classes for January are getting booked up. So if you want to be part of that and the live classes that I'll be teaching, I'd love to have you join us. All right, bye-bye.